I will note I am not listed as an attendance at that meeting, and I was virtually.
That's correct.
Yeah, I was. Okay, yeah, I was here. That's okay.
I second.
Sure.
Thank you.
The motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries to approve those. Thank you. Now we will jump into the committee and staff reports. Nothing to report? Excellent. All right. On 4.1 and 4.2? Okay. We will go to agenda 5. We would like to welcome everyone and lay out a few ground rules which apply to each public hearing being held tonight. It is important that you present any facts or views you have as evidence so that an informed recommendation can be made by the Planning Commission to the governing body for their final decision. By state statute, the governing body does not have to hold another additional public hearings on these matters, although they may listen to whomever they wish. You will be asked if there's any new information which was not heard at these hearings. It is to everyone's advantage if you present the necessary information at these hearings. For each case, after the city zoning administrator provides the commission with background information, I will call upon the applicant. Public comments will be heard following the applicant. Once all have been heard, the applicant will have an opportunity for final comments. The Planning Commission will close the public hearing to public comments and then consider 14 factors of which to base their recommendation. During this time, the commission may direct questions to the applicant, to the public, and/or city staff. You should be aware that the Planning Commission can recommend that a site be platted or replatted if necessary, and that a site plan may be required for approval. You should be aware that any uses permitted outright in a district by the regulations can receive a zoning permit. Furthermore, if the applicant chooses to describe various features of their development plans, the city can only enforce those provisions which are covered in zoning and other city codes. Anyone wishing to speak must be recognized by the chairperson. Give their name, address. Please use the podium and speak clearly so that your comments can be recorded for inclusion into our minutes. Official notices for these hearings were published in the City of Andover municipal website on February 22nd, 2025, and notices were mailed to the applicant and real property owners of record in the notification area on February 21st, 2025. The record shows that at least 20 days has elapsed between the publication, mailing dates, and hearing date. Unless there is evidence to the contrary from anyone present, I will declare that proper notification has been given. Although we do not encourage any such communications, I will ask the commission if any of them have received any ex parte verbal or written communications prior to these hearings they would like to share.
None.
Thank you. So we will jump on to then 5.1, which is the lot split of Andover Senior Living.
The case before you tonight for this lot split is a very simple split of a large lot that the applicant intends to build a senior living facility on in 2 phases. And for financing reasons, he's splitting the lot in order that he wouldn't have a mortgage on the future development space. Very simple. The 2 resulting lots meet all of the bulk regulations for the district. Staff recommends approval. City engineer has reviewed the lot split and recommends approval. So that's up for your consideration.
Peter and I reviewed this also last week at subdivision.
I make a motion that we approve the lot split for Lot 2, Block 2 of the Heritage Mixed Use Second Edition as submitted.
Thank you, Peter. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Go ahead, Dan.
Second by Dan Colson.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. We will go now to 5.2, the county lot split at 1904 East Central Avenue.
The case before you tonight is a lot split that's outside of the city, but in the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction. You may be familiar with this parcel because it was the parent parcel of the Green Meadow plat and zoning case that you heard a few months ago. That owner had an 80-acre tract that he subdivided off a 1-acre lot to give to a family member. Now he's applied to Butler County, which is the wrong jurisdiction for a plat because it's in our extraterritorial jurisdiction, to lot split this property. Number one, it can't be lot split because it's not a lot. It's a meets and bounds parcel. It's never been platted. In order to be lot split, it first has to be platted. Number two, the resulting rear parcel would have no access to public streets. It would be landlocked by private property on 3 sides and floodplains. So our recommendation is that we tell the county first, they don't have jurisdiction to hear a lot split in our extraterritorial. And second, that this just doesn't meet the conditions in order to lot split.
Does anybody have any questions for Les?
So Les, if they decided to go in and plat the whole property, then they could do a lot split, correct?
Correct. Which would make no sense if they were platting it. They might just as well plat it into 2 lots rather than plat it as one and lot split it.
Is there anybody here that would like to speak about this case? So we're just really kind of a little bit like out of order of what the process could look like if they have,
Right,
okay,
right. This application should have came to the city since it's in the city's extraterritorial
okay.
jurisdiction for subdivision.
But even had it come to the city, you still would have recommended rejecting it because it's not platted, right?
Had it come to the city, we would have recommended that it be platted and that the plat have access for both parcels to open public streets.
Is there any restriction if they do plat it in 2 separate, do they have to be equal?
That would be, if it were to remain in the county, it's currently zoned Ag 40. And to be in compliance with the Ag 40 zone, the resulting 2 lots would have to be plus or minus 40 acres. And I think from county records, they're saying that the remainder after the applicant subdivided off the 1 acre is 78.6 acres. So it would be a little short, which would be up to the county if it remained in the county to accept that as being plus or minus 40 acres.
So we would prefer that the applicant come to the city as opposed to going to the county, which they already went to the county though.
Well, in this case, they absolutely have to come to the city
Okay,
because it's a subdivision activity
okay.
and the city has jurisdiction.
Technical question about how we deal with this.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
How do we need a motion to
So
deny this at some point?
our role tonight is just advisory to the county's planning board. And we'll follow up with their staff. They've got some new staff over there, some changes. We'll follow up with them.
I'll be providing the meeting minutes to their planning department, which will include your guys' recommendation on these cases.
So instead of a motion, we're looking for a recommendation.
Yes. It's a
Still a motion then?
motion to recommend, yes.
Okay. Well, I, Gary Israel, make a motion to recommend that we deny the further subdivision of the subject property because it does not fit the definition of lot split or qualify for an exemption for plating, and recommend that the applicant come to the city to resolve this issue.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And that motion carries. So 5.3 is county zoning of 1904 East Central Avenue.
Same property we just spoke about. The applicant has applied to the Butler County for a change in zoning from the existing Ag 40 to the RE Rural Estate District. When I researched that zoning district, the resulting two parcels, were it to be lot split or platted, would fit within the lot sizes allowed in that zoning district. However, that zoning district requires that the property be platted into lots. And the owner is trying to circumvent that platting process. And this specific zone requires that it be platted for low density development to retain the character of a rural area. I think it's a real stretch. This parcel is adjacent to the city of Andover. It's far from a rural area. It's adjacent to the city of 17,000 people with public water, public sewer, paved roads. And it doesn't meet the requirements for platting. So on those grounds, we would recommend that you all recommend to the county that it not be approved.
Any questions for Les on this part?
I saw in here that there's a recommendation to annex the property.
I think that's going to be the best thing to do. In the county's own comprehensive plan, they state that areas should be annexed by the city before they are developed if they're within the city's comprehensive planning area.
I'm sorry, could you say that again? I didn't track.
Butler County's comprehensive plan recommends that these areas should be annexed by the city before they are developed.
Okay.
Talking about parcels that are within the city's comprehensive planning area, but not yet annexed into the city.
And I assume there's nobody here for this part of the case, or since they weren't here earlier. Okay. We're doing a recommended action again, similar to last time. Okay.
Just a quick question. Does a recommendation for annexation, is that properly a recommendation to the county? Because I'm just unclear who we're making a recommendation here to.
You could include that in your recommendation to the county.
Okay.
Well, I will take a motion
can do
to,
I'll be dangling.
I, Dan Colson, move that we recommend disapproval of the change in zoning from Butler County Ag 40 to RE Rural Estate District because the proposal does not meet the intent and purpose of the proposed district. Further recommend that the subject property be annexed into the corporate limits of Andover and to be zoned and platted.
I
Thank you.
second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And motion carries. 5.4, county conditional use of 2612 East Highway 24.
Again, this is a Butler County case just outside of the city limits, a little over a half mile east of the city limits, but within the city's comprehensive planning area. I did a little research on this. The property is currently zoned Ag 40, but it's a non-conformance. It's only a little over 30 acres. It's along US Highway 54. The applicant proposes to use the property for a light commercial office, light retail use with storage units. The application proposes this to be a conditional use. And when I look at the conditional uses that are permitted to be considered in the Ag 40 district, I don't find anything about commercial, office, light retail, or storage uses. And remember that conditional uses have to be listed in order to be considered. The intent and purpose of that Ag 40 district talks about things that are agriculture related, farm supplies, grain elevator, that sort of thing that are out in rural areas. I did find that retail and service uses are permitted in the Butler County Commercial District, and that commercial mini storage is permitted in the Butler County Industrial District. So I think this application is kind of out of bounds for their own Butler County zoning regulations. And it's also within the city's comprehensive planning area. So it should be annexed before it's considered for development.
So if they were to be annexed and we change the zoning, it couldn't be Ag 40. In the future, it'd have to be something else, like commercial.
Correct. There would be a zoning case in the city
Mhm.
to a zone that would allow commercial, office, retail, and storage units. I've got some real concerns for access on this one. I think when KDOT sees this configuration, they're going to want to take a look at access controls and frontage roads.
Any other questions for Les or staff? Are you here for this case? Would you, okay. There's no additional questions.
Well, I would make a motion that we recommend disapproval of the proposed conditional use in the Butler County Ag 40 district because the subject property does not meet the minimum 40-acre lot area, and storage units, light commercial, office retail uses are not conditional uses that may be approved by the county board. And further, that the subject property be annexed into the corporate limits of Andover, zoned and platted.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you. A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Madam Chairman, I, Gary Yusra, will make a motion that we recess the Planning Commission and convene the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we will jump into the variance of 415 South Sunset Drive. So I now call agenda item 5.5, which is a public hearing on case BZA V250002. Before we proceed with the hearing, I'll ask the commission members if any of them intend to disqualify themselves from participating in this case because they or a relative own property in the area of notification or have conflicts of interest.
I
No.
have none.
Thank you. I now call the city zoning administrator to provide us with a report on this case.
The applicant in this case, Andover Crossing Apartments, is a property that was built in the 1990s. The street system was not built around the northeast side of the property, so the conditions have changed dramatically since those apartments were originally built. The rear of the apartment buildings face what is now Sunset Street and Founders Parkway. There is a partial masonry 6-foot fence along the northwest side of the property, but in this case now the apartments are surrounded by streets, and the owner wishes to put up a 6-foot privacy fence along the backs of those apartments for security and screening from what are now commercial streets on 3 sides.
Any questions for Les?
No.
I now call upon the applicant to make his or her presentation on the request and any response to the zoning administrator's report.
The applicant unfortunately could not make it this evening, but they did provide this image to me today. It's not in your packets, but it does depict where this intended fence will
thank you.
live.
Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on this case? Have there been any rewritten communications?
No, Madam Chairperson.
And there would be no final comments. So hearing no further public comments, I hereby close the public portion of the hearing. There will be no further public comments unless the board wishes to ask questions to clarify information. The board will now deliberate the request to determine whether the evidence presented supports the conclusions of required finding of fact. The board will now consider the criteria provided for evaluation. And Dan has volunteered to read those for us.
Does the evidence demonstrate that, number one, physical surroundings, shape, or topography of the property would result in a practical difficulty as distinguished from a mere inconvenience for the owner, lessee, or occupant? Staff, the subject property is surrounded by 2 public streets on the east, west, and north, as well as a private commercial driveway on the south.
Concur.
Number 2, granting the variance will result in material detriment or injury to other property or improvements in the neighborhood. Staff, the proposed 6-foot fence would not result in material detriment or injury to other property in the neighborhood.
Concur.
3, granting the variance will result in an inadequate supply of light or air to adjacent property, substantially increased traffic congestion, increased fire risk, or substantially diminished property values in the neighborhood. Staff, no adverse effects are anticipated. Concur. Number 4, the request for a variance is not based exclusively on the desire of the owner, lessee, occupant, or applicant to make more money out of the property. Staff, the applicant does not have a motivation to make money out of the property through the request of this variance. It is to provide security and screening for the adjacent apartment buildings.
Concur.
Specific conditions to be met. Number 1, the requested variance arises from a condition unique to the property in question, which is not ordinarily found in the same zoning district and which was not created by any action of the property owner or the applicant. Staff, the subject property is surrounded by 2 public streets on the east, west, and north, as well as a private commercial driveway on the south. Sunset Drive and Founders Parkway were developed many years after the apartments were constructed.
Agreed.
I have a question here.
Mhm.
Since this is an apartment complex and it is on Sunset Drive and Founders Parkway, I know they applied for only 6-foot high fence. Could they have done 8-foot? Since it is an apartment complex and you may want to separate that a little bit more.
I would have to check on that, Gary, but I believe a 6-foot fence is the maximum in the residential zones.
Okay, thank you. Concur.
Number 2, strict application of the provisions of these zoning regulations would result in unnecessary hardship for the owner, lessee, or occupant of the land or structures. Staff, strict application of the provisions in this case would result in some unnecessary hardship for the owner given the proximity of the adjacent streets.
Concur.
3, granting the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residents. Staff, no adverse effects are anticipated.
Concur.
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 Number 4, the requested variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. Staff, no adverse effects are anticipated.
Concur.
Concur. And number 5, the requested variance will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of these zoning regulations. Staff, the general spirit and intent of the zoning regulations is to promote the public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare. The proposed 6-foot fence does not endanger any of these general premises of the regulations.
Concur.
Concur.
Thank you, Dan.
And I have one further question. Are there any restrictions on the type of fence that they would put? Could it be a wood fence, a concrete barrier, one of the precast?
They've just asked for a solid fence.
Okay,
We don't know what the material is.
okay. Thank you.
Is there a motion to either approve, modify, or disapprove, or table the discussion?
I, Gary Israel, make a motion to approve the variance to allow it for a 6-foot fence in the front yard at 415 South Sunset Drive.
I second that motion.
I do believe we need a motion that follows.
We don't have that.
You don't have
I
that.
don't have that. Okay,
It's a
Sorry.
motion to authorize the chairperson to sign a resolution granting the variance
yeah.
for what you said.
Having considered the evidence at the hearing, determined that the findings of fact have been found to exist that support all 5 conditions set out in subsection 11-106.b2 of the zoning regulations in KSA 12-759E. I, Gary Israel, move that the chairperson be authorized to sign a resolution granting the variance for case number BZA-V25-0002 as requested.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I have a second. I will
Thank you.
second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. A resolution will be prepared and made available to the applicant as soon as reasonably possible, but no later than 45 days from the date of this hearing. If anyone is aggrieved by this decision, a further appeal can be made to the district court to determine its reasonableness within 30 days after the resolution is signed and filed with the zoning administrator.
Madam Chairperson, I, Gary Israel, make a motion to adjourn the Board of Zoning Appeals and reconvene the Planning Commission.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And member items.
Well, we have guests here
We do
this
have
evening.
guests.
Nothing?
Here for the very first 2 and that last. on the
Excellent.
fence.
All right. Well, thank you for coming.
No item.
I'll make the motion to adjourn. How about that?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And thank you for coming tonight.
That's one of our shorter meetings.